Forget stress and anxiety, the power of being present. A beggar sitting on a sidewalk asks a passerby for a few coins. The passerby replies, "I have nothing to give you, but what do you have in the box on which you are sitting?" "I don't know," replies the beggar. "I've been sitting on it for years, but I've never looked." Once opened, the beggar discovers that the box was full of gold. Eckhart tolle, author of the book The Power of the Present Moment, says he is like this passerby, having nothing to give us, nothing to teach us that deep down we don't already know. But, thanks to his help, he allows us to discover a treasure that we possess without knowing it. The author wishes to show us how to get out of a life full of anguish and worries, or even full of regrets and suffering, thanks to the power of the present moment. He explains that we have become accustomed to living constantly in the future, in search of happiness or a sense of fulfillment that eludes us, or in the past, prisoners of memories or remorse that we cannot reach to leave behind. We constantly avoid living in the present, truly being present in every moment of our lives. This is due to two main reasons. The first is that we are victims of compulsive thinking. The second is that we harbor repressed negative emotions within ourselves. Compulsive thinking. Let's start with compulsive thinking. Not being able to stop one's thoughts has become such a diffuse condition that we have come to consider it normal. In reality, it is a background noise that prevents us from finding calm and peace. Our brain is an extraordinary tool if we use it correctly. The problem is that, because of compulsive thinking, now our brains are using us. A voice constantly speaks inside our heads. It comments, judges, appreciates, disputes, compares, complains. She often imagines that things will go wrong and worries about the possible negative consequences. She stirs up the past, especially the most painful, to interpret what is happening to us. By dint of hearing it, we ended up identifying with this voice. We believe that we are that voice. In reality, this voice is only a small part of who we really are. Break free from compulsive thinking. So how do we free ourselves from compulsive thinking and stop being used by our brain? A very simple method is to observe. Observe our incessant thoughts. Observe the voice inside our head. We must learn to observe it impartially, without judging or condemning it. Quite quickly you will realize the following. Here is the voice, and here I am listening to it, observing it. At first, this distance between the voice in your head and your presence observing it will last only a few seconds. Over time, this duration will increase and you will be able to stop the continuous flow of thoughts. Feelings of calm and peace will accompany these moments. Also, these feelings will deepen over time. A second way to stop your thoughts is to focus all your attention on the present moment. This is the very essence of meditation. Any daily activity can lend itself to it. It is enough to carry it out with a very strong attention to each gesture. Take for example the moment you wash your hands. Pay attention to all the resulting sensory prompts, the sound and feel of water, the movement and touch of hands, the scent of soap, etc. As you give your full attention to these gestures, the voice in your head disappears. You no longer have in mind the notion of past and future. As you practice mindfulness, you can track your progress by one very simple metric, the degree of inner calm you feel. One day perhaps you will find yourself smiling with your inner voice. It means that you no longer take what is going on in your head too seriously, and that your sense of yourself is no longer dependent on your thoughts. This does not mean at all that you have to stop thinking or using your brain as a tool. It simply means that it is possible to distance oneself from one's thoughts, to no longer fully identify with what is going on in one's head. Observe your emotions. Now let's look at repressed negative emotions. An emotion is how our body responds to our thoughts, the result of an amplified and enlivened train of thought. Normally, an emotion has a limited lifespan before dissolving. But since we are constantly caught up in our thoughts, we no longer pay attention to our emotions and we no longer allow them to vent. So they accumulate and form what the author calls the suffering body. As with our thoughts, it can happen that we are completely at the mercy of our emotions. By dint of being repressed, they end up coming out in a very intense way, without our being able to control them. But just as we are not our thoughts, neither are we our emotions. And as with our thoughts, we can put distance between ourselves and our emotions simply by observation. By placing ourselves as an observer, without thinking or judging, just through feeling, we can watch our emotions. We can recognize their presence and give them space. Taking an interest in your emotions in this way allows you to evacuate them very quickly, to prevent them from accumulating. But also, it allows us to stop the automatisms that may have set in over time. We are therefore no longer prey to our emotions, but by feeling them and giving them attention, we can choose how to react. Pay attention to your body. Another way to give way to your emotions is to focus your attention on your own body. Starting from the extremities, your hands or your feet, pay attention to the sensations you feel, to the energy that is found there. At the goal of about 10 seconds, shift the attention to your legs or arms. Then continue with the rest of the body, and try to feel it as a single source of energy. As with the other exercises, it is likely that at first it will be very difficult to maintain this attention, this presence, for more than a few seconds. But with practice it will be possible to feel this energy longer and deeper. Being truly in the moment, being aware of one's thoughts and feelings, seeing enough distance to choose the response to thoughts and feelings, has many benefits both personally and in relationships. I must admit that the few exercises proposed by the author to stop his thoughts, pay attention to his emotions and his body, allow quite quickly to take a step back from the situations encountered in everyday life. This avoids falling into automatic reactions, but rather choosing the most appropriate behavior for the situation. Feelings of calm, serenity, and self-confidence more easily accompany difficult and stressful times at work and at home. Surely worth a try. And you? What relationship do you have with your thoughts and emotions? With your past and your future? Are you able to harness the power of the present moment? Leave a comment below. Tell us how are you doing.